Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 115b. Top of the page, the word Kid Rav Huna. Kid Rav Huna Marav, Rav Huna Marav, Hashem Shenita Klariyo, Shechotais Dam, Koshen Oilo. This is in accordance with the statement Rav Huna says that Rav says. As Rav Huna says that Rav says with regard to a guilt offering whose owner died or achieved atonement through a different guilt offering, and which was consigned to grazing in the field until it develops a blemish, and prior to its being consigned, one slaughtered it without specification of its purpose, it is fit as a burnt offering. ומבשר קודשי קדושים מבשר קודשים קלים וממייסר אוי מרושתי לכם הפעמים משל מלאכת מלבדו. The Mishnah teaches, excuse me one moment, my yad, my pointer helps. Pointy, pointer. Okay. I can give you a pointer, but then I wouldn't have my own pointer. Okay. Here's a pointer. Okay. Where are we holding here? Tanu Rabbana minayin lema'ala milbala mibasa Chadash mibasa Hashem v'zar koshe kadashim b'zevachim kalim b'zevachim shelem le'avalim shelem le'avalim. The Mishnah teaches one who offers up outside the temple courtyard a portion of the meat of a sin offering that is eaten, or who offers up a portion of several other items, is exempt with regard to the reasoning behind the halacha. The sages taught in a braita, for where is it derived? The one who offers up outside the temple courtyard a portion of the meat of a sin offering, or a portion of the meat of a guilt offering, or a portion of the meat of offerings of the most sacred order, or a portion of the meat of offerings of lesser sanctity, or a portion of the surplus of the Omer offering, or the 2 loaves, or the showbread, or the remainder of meal offerings is exempt, as all these are eaten by the priests and not sacrificed on the altar. Talmud lo ma ola shehi voyalaha lo avkol shevoyalaha lo. The verse states with regard to the prohibition against sacrificing outside the temple courtyard, whatever man that sacrifices a burnt offering or sacrifice and brings it not to the entrance of the tent of meeting to sacrifice it to the Lord, that man shall be cut off from his people. Leviticus 17:8-9. The term burnt offering teaches just as a burnt offering is fit for offering up upon the altar, so too anything that is fit for offering up is included in the prohibition. All of the offerings listed in the Braita are not sacrificed upon the altar, but given to the priests. Minayin sha'af hayotze v'habolel v'hapotet v'hamoleach v'hamelif v'hamagish v'hamisadir hashulchan v'hamedi v'zaneos v'hakomes v'hamel b'chutz b'shapato. From where is it derived that even with regard to one who pours oil onto the meal offering, and one who mixes the oil into the flour of the meal offering, and one who breaks the loaves of the meal offering into pieces, and one who salts the meal offering or other offerings, and one who waves the meal offering, and one who brings the meal offering to the corner of an altar that he constructs outside the courtyard, and one who arranges the showbread on the table outside the sanctuary, and one who removes the ashes from the lamps of the candelabrum, and one who removes the handful from a meal offering, and one who collects the blood of an offering in a vessel. If he did so outside the temple courtyard, he is exempt. Talmud Lomar Asher Yale Ozabach Ma Hela Shihi Gamar Buddha of Kol Shu Gamar Buddha. The verse states that sacrifices are burnt offering or sacrifice. Leviticus 17:8. Just as sacrificing is the conclusion of a sacrificial service, so too any rite that is the conclusion of a sacrificial service is included. All of these are excluded from the prohibition, as there are rites that follow them. Ad shelo kam hamishkan, ad shelo gam hamishkan v'chule, Yasiv Ravuna bar Rav Katina, coming to Rav Chizda. V'kafarei v'yishlach es narei b'nei Yisrael, amalei hachi amarbasi karbu pasku. The Mishnah teaches, until the tabernacle was established, private altars were permitted and the sacrificial service was performed by the firstborn. The Gemara relates that Rav Huna bar Katina was sitting before Rav Chizda and was reading this verse with regard to the revelation at Sinai, and he sent the young men of the children of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. Exodus 24 verse 5. The young men referred to in the verse were the firstborn of the Jewish people. Rav Chizda said to him, "This is what Rav Asi said. They sacrificed the offerings and then ceased to serve after that day. The firstborn no longer performed the sacrificial service." Sabar Yehoshua Mimas Nisan Shamadi Kamar Mishmeh Derabada Bar Ahava Ora Shikri Israel Midbar Yadun Beheshit Vinituach was Vebrais Shai Bechulahu. Rav Huna thought to raise a contradiction for the Mishnah, which states that the firstborn performed not only the sacrificial service on that day, but also did so until the tabernacle was established the following year. In the meanwhile, he heard Rav Chizda say, in the name of Rav Adabar Ahava, that the burnt offering that the children of Israel sacrificed in the wilderness before the establishment of the tabernacle did not require flaying of the skin and cutting up into pieces, and it was sacrificed as it was. He therefore raised the contradiction from a braita that is equal with regard to both of them, meaning from which Rav Huna could raise a contradiction to both of his statements. Titania, Ad shelo gam hamishkan habamos mutaros ve'avoida b'choros ve'akol mishel yikareb behema chayim of zchol and keves d'nimer bamu and toil bamu lo temein. As is taught right until the tabernacle was established, private altars were permitted. The sacrificial service was performed by the firstborn, and all the animals were fit to be sacrificed to a domesticated animal and undomesticated animal, or a bird, males, females, blemished and unblemished, unblemished and blemished animals. All animal sacrifices were brought from animals and birds that were kosher, but not from non-kosher species. The goyim bisman shen, and all offerings brought before the construction of the tabernacle were sacrifices, burnt offerings, and the burnt offering that the Jewish people sacrificed in the wilderness before the tabernacle was established required flaying of the skin and cutting into pieces. And today, Gentiles are permitted to sacrifice offerings on private altars. The Braita states explicitly that until the tabernacle was constructed, the sacrificial service was performed by the firstborn, and the burnt offering required flaying and cutting. Tanoi de Tanya v'gam hakohanim hanigashim el Hashem yitgadashu. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Korcha omer zo prishut bechorot Rabbi Omer zu prishut Nadav Avihu. Rav Chisda replied that with regard to the firstborn, it is a dispute between Tanaim, as it is taught in Bright, that God said to Moses on Mount Sinai, and let the priests also that come near to the Lord sanctify them. Let the priests also that come near to the Lord sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. Exodus 19:22. In other words, they should separate themselves and not approach the mountain. This command was given one day after the burnt offerings and peace offerings were sacrificed in anticipation of the revelation at Sinai. With regard to this command, Rabbi Shubin Korach says, this command is a reference to the separation of the firstborn as they function as priests. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, this command is a reference to the separation of Nadav and Avihu, who were priests. Fish from the Zuprecious Nadav Avihu, the Gemara asked, granted, according to the one who says that the command for the priests is sanctify themselves referring to the separation of Nadav and Avihu, this is the meaning of that which is written after their death on the 8th day of the inauguration of the tabernacle. And Moses said to Aaron, this is that the Lord spoke, saying, through them that are near to me, I will be sanctified. And Aaron held his peace. Leviticus 10:3. Avihu had already been warned not to draw too close, lest the Lord break forth upon them. They didn't listen. Okay. Elavan Zamra zu precious b'choyim es hechel mizo dichsiv v'noaditi shama l'bnei Yisrael v'nitgadash b'chvodi al tikri b'chvodi ela b'mechubadai. But according to the one who says that the command for priests to sanctify themselves is referring to the separation of the firstborn, where is the allusion to the fact that God would be sanctified through Nadav and Avihu? The Gemara replies, as it is written, and there I will meet with the children of Israel, and it shall be sanctified by my glory. Exodus 29:23. Do not read it by my glory, rather by my honored ones, okay. God will be sanctified by those considered honored by God when He reveals Himself in the tabernacle. זה דבר אשר אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא למשה ולא ידעו עד שמתו בני אהרון. עד שמתו בני אהרון. כי ונמתו בני אהרון, אבל לא אהרון אחי לא מתו בניך, אלא להקדיש שמו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. כיוון שאהרון בניו שבניו ידועים במקום הן, שתק וקיבל שכר, שנאמר וידום אהרון. The Holy One, blessed be He, said this statement to Moses, but Moses did not know its meaning until the sons of Aaron died. Once the sons of Aaron died, Moses said to him, Aaron, my brother, your sons died only to sanctify the name of the Holy One, blessed be He. When Aaron knew that his sons were beloved by the omnipresent, he was silent and received reward, as it stated, and Aaron held his peace. Vayidom. B'chein b'David hu omer, dom l'Hashem hitcholeleno, af al pi shemapir lecha chalalim, at shetok. B'chein b'Shlomo hu omer, et לחשot ואת לדבר. פעמים ששותק ומקבל שכר על השתייה, פעמים מדבר ומקבל שכר על הדיבור. Likewise, verse 3 is written by David. States, rein yourself to the Lord. What is that word again? Rein yourself, dom, and wait patiently for Him. Psalms 37, verse 7. Although He strikes down many corpses, kalalim, around you, You be silent and do not complain. Likewise, in a verse written by Solomon, it states, a time to keep silence, a time to speak. Ecclesiastes 3:7. There are times that one is silent and receives reward for silence, and at times one speaks and receives reward for speech. And this is what Rabbi Chia says, Rabbi Yochanan says. What is the meaning of that which is written? Awesome is our God. Our God is an awesome God from heaven above. It says here. What is the meaning of that which written? Awesome is God out of your holy places. Psalms 68:36. Do not read it as from your holy places, but rather read it as from your holy ones. When the Holy One, He carries out judgment upon His holy ones, He is feared, exalted, and praised by all. In any event, there is no contradiction in the Raita, which teaches that the firstborn performed sacrificial service before the tabernacle was established, as this matter is the subject of a dispute between Tanaim. Ela Kashya Olam. Tre Tanai, the Tanya Rabbi Ishmael Omer, Klalo Nebru, Besinai, Upratos, but there is still a difficulty with regard to the burnt offering. As was stated in the name of Rabbi Ada Bar Ava, the burnt offering that the Jewish people sanctified in the wilderness did not require flaying of the skin or cutting into pieces, while the Braita states it did. The Gemara replies that there is a dispute between the opinions of these two Tanaim. As is Tanaim, Braita Rabbi Ishmael says, the general statements, meaning the principles of the Torah, were said at Sinai, and all the details of the mitzvah that are explicated in Leviticus were said to Moses in the tent of meeting. This includes the halacha that the burnt offering must be flayed and cut into pieces. Consequently, he could not have been in effect. It could not have been in effect before the construction of the temple. Okay, Rabbi Kiva Omer. Rabbi Kiva says both general statements and the details of mitzvot were said at Sinai and later taught again in the tent of meeting, and taught a third time at Moses to the Jewish people in the plains of Moab, where he taught the Torah to the people. See Deuteronomy 1:1. According to Rabbi Akiva's opinion, the halacha of flaying and cutting into pieces was in effect when the Torah was given, even before the construction of the temple. Umar Savar, and the other one holds, Hakol Kesher Likarev, Menan Hamili, Arvuna Damakra, Vayin Noach Mizbeach Lashem, Vaikach Mikol Behema Toira, Mikol Oif Atara Behema Yishma'u. Okay, the master said, where were we holding? I think we're on the last line. I'll go from Rabbi Kiva. Kiva Omer closed the Prutus. I said this already. Never seen him in the Shadows. Rabbi Kiva says both general statements and the statements of mitzvot were said at Sinai, and later taught again in the tent of meeting, and taught a third time by Moses to the Jewish people in the plains of Moab when he taught the Torah to the people. See Deuteronomy 1:1. According to Rabbi Akiva's opinion, the halacha of flaying and cutting into pieces was in effect when the Torah was given, even before the construction of the tabernacle. Amar Mar, the master said, Hakol Kisherin Lahakriv Minahal Mili Omer Chizda Tamakla Even Noach Mizbach Hashem Vaikach Mikol Behema HaTorah Mikol Of HaTorah Umehema Kimashma'o Chaya Bechol Behema. The master said the right before the tabernacle was established, all animals were fit to be sacrificed, a domesticated animal and an undomesticated animal, a bird, The Gemara asks, from where are all these matters derived? Ravuna said, as the verse states, with regard to the offering that was sacrificed after the flood, and Noah built an altar to the Lord and took every pure animal and every pure fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Genesis 8:20. The Gemara explains animal, meaning the word here, behema, is understood in accordance with its plain meaning, a domesticated animal, and the same is true of fowl. An undomesticated haya is included in the term behema. As is stated above, made it. Nice.